Hello everyone and welcome back. It is Christian here from the Calcio Bros to talk about Serie A, and with the weekend coming up, that means we get more Calcio action. So we have round 17 coming up. But before we even discuss that, we need to talk about what happened here in round 16. And there's definitely plenty of results to talk about. And I feel let's get right into that right now. So we had again, all 10 games played in one day, starting at the 6:30 game, which was Cagliari Benevento. This now condemns Cagliari to 9 games without a win, and it also marks Nainggolan's return to the club, where he really got his career going. Benevento has their third win in 4 games and helped to rebound after that loss to Milan over the weekend. 9 a.m., 7 games. We had Torino, Verona. Torino just managed onto a point, and if you missed it as well, Di Marco scored an absolute stunner of a goal. Volley from almost a great angle. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It is one of the goals of the day, perhaps one of the goals of the season as well. We have Sassuolo, Genoa. Sassuolo managing to rebound themselves after a huge loss to Atalanta over the weekend, while Genoa get their first loss under Ballardini's fourth return to the club. I want to say third, fourth, something like that. We have Sassuolo Inter, which finished 2-1 in favor of the host. Goals from 2 ex-Interista players in Keita Balde and Antonio Candreva. Alexis Sanchez also missing a penalty as well, so that halts Inter's streak. We're going to get talking to that as well. We have Lazio Fiorentina. Lazio manages to get their first win of the new year and condemning Fiorentina to another disappointing defeat here. Crotone hosting Roma. Roma taking the victory 3-1. They were up 3-0 at halftime, so it was a pretty routine victory for Roma. And another goal 2, if you haven't seen it, check out Baria Majoral's goal. A great strike from the outside of the box. Another contender for goal of the season. We have Bologna Udinese finishing in a 2-2 draw. Arslan scoring late in the game to tie it up for Udinese and salvage a point. For the last 9 a.m. game, we have Atalanta Parma, which finished 3-0 for Gasperini's men, which also condemns Liverani to his last game in charge of the club. And as stated before, De Versa returns and he takes over the helm of Parma, where he really brought the best out of them last year. And again, another game where Papu Gomez does not play. How much longer will we not see him in the Atalanta shirt? When will we see him in a new shirt? That's another really big question we need to ask. 12 p.m. we had a shock of a game here, which was Napoli hosting Spezia, and Spezia and 10 men get the result here, 2-1 at the Stadio Diego Armando Maradona. Unbelievable result. We'll talk about that game as well. And then to end off the day was Milan hosting Juve, and Milan finding out, well, this game originally they weren't sure if they were going to play. Juve had to wait until the day of the last round of swabs in case there was more outbreaks, as they had 2 positive cases in I believe it was Cuadrado and Alexandro, and they were all good to go. But Milan, finding out the day of, they had to play without Krunic and Rebic, and that even added on to the list of absentees. But the result of the game was a 3-1 win for Juventus. So Milan received their first league defeat of the season. They still remain first, which we'll get into shortly. But I want to backtrack a bit now and talk about the first upset of the game, of the round, which was Sampdoria Inter. And like I said before, Inter, this loss halted Inter's run. If they had won this game, they would have gone on a 9 game winning streak. Oh my god, I can't even talk. But Inter missing a penalty, it was 2-0 at halftime, and it really looked bleak. And again, goals from originally it didn't even start off that great anyways to begin with, because the penalty is what started it all, or missed penalty, sorry, started off, but also even before that, if we even go back a little bit earlier in the game, the referee had actually awarded another penalty for Inter, but it was called back as, or was it earlier in the game? I'm kind of lost right now. Or no, sorry, penalty for, I don't even remember. I'm sorry. But there was a call in the game. I'm trying to even look back here. But there was basically a call in the game. Ref had called it a penalty, but it happened just outside the box. And instead of the penalty that the ref originally gave, it was called back, and the ref gave a free kick to just outside the box. So that was reversed, but they did end up getting another penalty, which Alexis Sanchez did miss, and you could set the tone for the game as, again, like I said, two former Inter players in Candreva and Keita get goals halfway through that half, but they managed to hold on. De Vrij pulling one back for the side, but unfortunately. They just couldn't hold on to it. Or, sorry, they couldn't get to it. Oh my god, I am sorry. It's just been one of those long nights, so I'm just trying to do my best on this. So, this is a huge result, though, for Sampdoria, as they really managed to push themselves away into creeping into that top 10. They're really getting them together. They may have quite a few losses, but this is their third win now in 5 games. So Ranieri is starting to get some good cohesion, organization in his side. So he is really getting the best now out of his players. And even if there's times where they lose, they still are managing to play some good football, putting up challenges, and this is what they need. And especially big wins like this, like against teams like Inter, are important, as no one would expect them. And especially when Inter was on such a high run of form, no one would have thought that Ranieri would have taken away the victory from Conte's men. But now, because if they had won, it would have put the extra pressure on Milan, considering that Milan did fall later in the game. So Inter could have ended up first by the end of the day, but that did not happen here, and Inter will be disappointed at this result and will look to do better and hopefully continue putting the pressure on Milan going forward. Going to the other game, like I said, is Napoli Spezia, and I maybe don't. Well, actually, I missed one here. Lazio Fiorentina. Maybe I'll talk a bit about that. And it's like I don't want to keep talking about all the results as well. I want to talk about mainly a lot of the key fixtures, about a lot of the bigger teams and how it shapes up forward. But I will even talk about a little how the bottom is, depending who they play, but also depends how the games are as well. But I will maybe mention, like I said, Genoa get another loss as well. Crotone, it does seem like they will most likely go down. Torino, who'd had a good game but could not get more against Verona. But let's go back to the game I was planning to talk about, was Lazio Fiorentina, where Lazio, who were very disappointing in their previous match against Genoa, managed to get the job done here. Immobile did score actually earlier in the game. It was uh, after a wonderful play from Luis Alberto, but it did get disallowed. But the early goal from Caicedo helped shape up the game, get them in a good position to control the game, to get in the lead. And Immobile did get his goal later on. Vlahovic getting a penalty later on, just getting one back for the La Viola. But again, not after beating Juve, Fiorentina have now just stalled. They have not won in their first 2 games of the new year, and would have hoped to do better after, again, surprising Juventus just before the end of the year. That is their only win in their last 5 games, so more work for Prandelli to hopefully get something and continue to get Fiorentina away from the bottom there, because they're only 3 points from the bottom of the table. So the more they drop points, they better hope other teams under them don't get anything as well. So not what he would have liked. And they do now also lose Frank Ribery to injury, so that does not help his side either. He is a big loss to the team. Lots of experience, a lot of quality. So they would have to push on without him, and hopefully Prandelli can get more out of his other stars. Also touching on, I'll touch on Roma also for a bit because they get a crucial win here too to continue moving or solidifying that third spot right now, staying on top of Juventus and all the other teams. But they are also very close to Inter, only 3 points behind Inter because of that loss, and now 4 points behind Milan from their loss as well. So they're creeping up there as well. They're having a good season. Roma, some disappointing losses that they'll have to push behind, but now they have won 3 straight in the league and continuing their rise. Fonseca really doing well this year, has a good group of players, and he would hope to help bolster the team in this upcoming Mercato. Now, let's get back to the other game I was talking about, which was Napoli Spezia. And with Napoli, they have looked very inconsistent throughout this season. They play good some games, they play like crap other games. They just can't find a good rhythm because it's a lot of players just not playing up to the standards that they need to be. A lot of the backline in Koulibaly and Manolas, Fabian Ruiz, who's been there for a few years now, is probably having one of his worst seasons in the shirt. A lot of players just not getting the best. It seems like there's even a lot of pressure on Insigne to do well. So I don't know if there's times where Gattuso can't get he's able to get his tactics and his team playing the way he wants to, but other times it just seems like they are completely lost. Full credit to Spezia as they were not getting any results whatsoever. I think it's like their first win since like early November. Like they have been on such a spiral since earlier on in the season. Like this is an impressive result considering it's a huge win away. Like their last one came, yes, at the beginning of November, a 2-0 sorry, 3-0 away win to Benevento from November 7th. So it's been almost 2 months since their last victory. And that was huge for Spezia. And again, they went down to 10 men and they were behind from an Andrea Patagno goal, but goals from Nizola from the spot, as well as a late Pobega goal, helps to secure the victory for Italiano's men. And it does push them out of the relegation as well because of the way the other results went. So it's very important that they did get a point like this. And if they can surprise the big teams as well, that would be crucial in their fight for survival. They're not that far away from relegation, but again, points like this, it's important. And going back to Napoli, that's their 5th loss in 15 games this season. Again, they're also a game back because they still need to play Juventus. And considering the way they started the season, I know they're missing Mertens as well, Osimhen because of his quarantine. So they will hope to recover those guys up front because it's just a mess and they need these victories. They were so good at the beginning of the season, high rolling, scoring but then it just didn't go for them. So they really need a lot of work for them in this. And considering they only have 1 win in their last 5 games, 3 losses also in that time. So not the result of form they wanted, and especially if they want to, they're not that far out of the top 4, but if they continue to drop points like this, they'll find themselves even farther down the table. So they really need to get themselves going in gear if they have any hope of reaching the Champions League next season. Now going on to one of the bigger games of the day, it was Milan Juventus, and like I said, Juve coming away with victory here. One of the big stories too is Milan were missing a lot of key players. A lot of players were in doubt. Ibra was the main one in doubt for the game, but they said he wasn't going to play. But the list of players that were missing is very long. For Juve, they were missing. The only player they were missing through injury was Morata, while the Cuadrado and Sandro, like I said, were isolating because they had contracted COVID-19. While Milan were missing Benacer Ibra, Salamakers, um, Gabia. I feel like I'm missing someone else. Through injury, anyways. Tonali missing through suspension, and then they had the late positive test from Krunic and Rebic. So if you really look at those players, Milan had to call up quite a few Primavera players, and they had no great attacking options other than Brahim Diaz on the bench. The rest were all defensive players. So even with that, and Kessie, their only center mid, Pioli had to really change his tactics up and put Calabria in that center mid position. And it's not like he had a bad game. He actually played decently well and managed to get on the score sheet, but credit was going to Federico Chiesa, who did really step up in this game, really linking up well with Paulo Dybala, helped, who assisted the first goal with a lovely back heel to open up. But one of his best games in a Juve shirt. If he continues like this, the move would be well worth it, because a lot of times, like I was even doubting the move, but he just needs to put up performances like this, and it's definitely the move that he needed if he continues to link up. I will say though, with Ronaldo, his only highlight of the game was just a really nice pass. So I believe it was Dybala through the defense. He has games like this where he doesn't do anything, or he'll only show up. Like the only even if he's on the score sheet, it's only through a penalty, and then after that he disappears. He doesn't He's very inconsistent, that you'll feel like he's not even on the field sometimes. And yes, I know, like, just because you're not on the score sheet, whether you assist or goal, like, you're very useful, but I feel a lot of times he's not like, there's a lot of times he's left at bay and just halted throughout the game. Also, one thing about this game, there were a few decisions you would think that were very dubious. The ref Irati really didn't make any great calls for both sides. Hernandez putting in two challenges on Chiesa, maybe one or two, like one of them he should have been booked for, or maybe both, depending, you know. Um, Maybe a foul on Rabiot in the build-up to Milan's goal. It's like a 50-50, but I kind of say it was a foul. You can agree or disagree with me if you want. Be sure to comment below. Let me know. Bentancur should have been sent off as well. The ref was playing advantage, but he did not go back to book Bentancur. He remained on the field, and then in the last few minutes of the game, Diaz being tackled by Rabiot in the box, no penalty given, not even a VAR check. So, but again, just not a great game from the ref for both sides there. But this is huge for Juventus. They managed to get a huge victory, defeat Milan for their first loss of the season. But it is very hard. Milan, considering the absentees they did have, they did play a good game. They played with spirit, and they did the best they could have with the players that they had available. And that's the thing. Juve had the bench, they had the depth in order to help change the game. But that's also what I've noticed about Juve. It's not Pirlo necessarily changing the game. It's a lot of times individual performances that from the bench that help, or just players on the field in general that help change the game. Pirlo's tactics, no, he's just putting players on. And yes, you can give him credit for that, but at the same time, he's just putting players on the field and they're doing their own thing, I feel. Like, I don't really see that Pirlo is affecting the game as much as we'd like to believe, but I just feel it's the players themselves that are doing the jobs rather than Pirlo really giving them anything. But I could be wrong. If you guys agree with that as well, be sure to give me a shout. I'm here to just debate that, I want to hear what you guys say. So anyways, that's all the rounds, 16 matches. I can't even talk. What do you guys think of these results? Do you think they really changed or set the pace for the rest of the season? Or do you think it could really change the perspective of some of these teams going forward, the table? How do you feel some of these teams can bounce back after some of these losses, or can they take advantage of the other team's misfortunes going forward? A lot to check out on for next week's coming up. With the table also, that means with the Inter's loss earlier in the day, no matter the result, Milan would finish first, and even as they did lose, they still finished first at 37 points right now. Inter just a point behind. Roma is sitting fourth with 33, while Juve pushing up the table, sitting on fourth spot with 30 points. And remember, they are also a game in hand as they need to play Napoli. We have Sassuolo comfortably in fifth spot right now, a point ahead of Napoli at 28, while Atalanta is tied with Napoli with 28 points as well. Both teams also a game back. Napoli, like I said, with Juve and Atalanta missing their game against Udinese. Lazio also sitting at 8 spots, so just outside the top 7. They sit with 25 points, and especially if Atalanta has a game in hand, it'll push Atalanta further, and maybe they would put Napoli closer or the same distance pretty much, but you guys know what I mean. If we take a look at the bottom table now, Crotone is still bottom last with 9 points. Genoa, with the loss still, they sit in the relegation zone at 11 points. Now Parma dropping into the zone after their disappointing defeat. Two teams sit at 12 points, which are Torino and Parma, but Torino just ahead because of goal differential. But Spezia, with their win, again managed to jump out, are now 2 points ahead of Torino Parma. Cagliari, who are winless in their last 9, are tied with 14 points, while Fiorentina are sitting 3 points out of the relegation zone at 15 points. And Udinese, who again has a game in hand, are only 4 points out from there. So it's still very tight, but I feel it's going to be between, for that 18th, that third spot, like, I could feel maybe Genoa could get relegated, but it's still tough to say depending how it goes with Ballardini and depending who else they can pick up. Because Ballardini still is a good coach for Genoa and has actually done really well with them. Maybe with these upcoming games he can really change the pace, and they have looked good in recent games. So keep an eye out for them. They could just jump out and maybe squeeze another couple teams in there. If Cagliari and Fiorentina, for example, they don't start picking it up, they could find themselves in the bottom. I feel time's running out for Di Francesco. I'm still surprised Gianpaolo has his job right now, considering where Torino was in the last couple of years. So he could, depending on how the next few games go as well. So be sure to keep an eye on them. We're going to get into the upcoming round in Serie A. So things are kind of back to normal, splitting between the weekend. So Saturday, January 9th, there are 3 games which are 9 a.m. Benevento, Atalanta. Benevento high flying right now. They have 3 wins in their last 4, like I said before. And they will hope to take on a very confident Atalanta team who has not lost in their last 5. So it should be a very great game to see who can really get the most out of it. Both teams play very attacking football, so it's going to be basically who can score first and who's defending can be just a tad bit better here. 12 p.m. Genoa Bologna. So this is a huge game at the bottom of the table because Genoa could really push themselves out of the table and bring distance within Bologna as well and make the bottom half of the table much more interesting as well. While Bologna want to continue their momentum as well. They have drawn 5 consecutive games and we're hoping to get 3 points for a change rather than just a draw after disappointingly getting a tie last round against Udinese. To end off Saturday, we have Milan Torino. So Milan will look to rebound against Torino. Another home game here, but it also come. The only person they are recovering for the game from their list of absentees is Sandro Tonali, who will come back from a suspension. But they also found out they will be losing Hakan Çalhanoğlu as his ankle has reportedly been hurting and is very swollen. So he is missing this match, and Ibra still will most likely be back for next week's round, next Serie A match against Cagliari. They will most likely miss the Coppa Italia just for some extra rest against Torino, but Milan still missing a lot of key players up front, and they will hope to get something. While Torino, after drawing, will look to take advantage of the depleted Milan side after seeing their city rivals defeat them at the San Siro. They will hope to do the same here and get and hope and Giampaolo will look to alleviate the pressure off him as well. Now going to Sunday, starting off at 6:30, we have a very big game in Roma Inter. This will be a very highly attested affair because if Roma win, they can go level on points with Inter. While Inter, depending on how the Milan game goes, could go first or continue solidify their spot in second. We're getting a 6 point gap over Roma, so this is going to be a very good game here. Both teams in very fine form, even if Inter had lost their last game against Sassuolo. They're both in great form, and it's going to be a very entertaining game. 9 a.m. we have three matches. Parma Lazio, new coach or old coach D'Aversa and back in charge after for his first game. We'll hope to take on. We'll hope to get a win here in his first game against Lazio. As again, like I said, Lazio have not looked very steady this year, but we'll hope to take advantage. But maybe with the confidence in their last game, Lazio could just pull away, considering the poor form Parma has been in. So keep an eye here. Udinese and Napoli. Udinese, after getting the draw against Napoli, will hope to get something here. Who against its Gattuso side, who have looked poor or very inconsistent, so maybe they can get the side where they always like the side that loses and maybe pull off an upset here and condemn Gattuso's team to more misery. Napoli really want to catapult themselves up the table, so they need a win here. They need to find themselves. They need to really play with the passion that the teams the previous years were playing with if they have any hope of really taking Serie A by storm, if they hope to even, make Champions League. They want to showcase they're one of the top teams and they need more out of their players. Last game at 9 a.m. is Verona Crotone. Now, Crotone, it'll be a very difficult task for them as Verona have really looked good this season inside the top 10. So teams on two ends of the table, Verona will maybe look for a win to help put pressure on Lazio in winning their match as well. Because if Verona does win, they will leapfrog Lazio. And it also depends if Lazio draws as well. So that's one thing to look out for there. 12 p.m. we have Fiorentina Cagliari. Now both teams in the lower ends of the table, so this could help push one of them out of or farther away from the bottom. For Cagliari too, they want to get their first win in as they don't have a win in their last 9 games, so it's more pressure on them. And Di Francesco is also counting his days before he finds the sack as well. While Prandelli will hope to get his team to play like they did against Juventus if they have any hope of getting another victory. Ending off Sunday is Juventus Sassuolo, so Juve having the momentum and confidence after defeating league leaders Milan will look to battle a Sassuolo side who have entertained throughout the year so far in their matches, have looked really well, sitting in the 5th spot, and if Sassuolo does win, they can push ahead of Juve as well, so that's going to be a very interesting match as well, because Juve, if they win, will pull some distance on them. So look out to see who can get the victory at the Allianz Stadium. Now ending off round 17, we have one game on Monday, January 11th at 2:45, which is Spezia Sampdoria. Spezia, after both teams actually beating top sides, Sampdoria beating Inter and Spezia beating Napoli. Both teams with confidence flying high after those victories are going to battle it out, and let's see if any one of these two teams can outplay each other and get important victories. For Spezia, would help push them away from the bottom and actually closer to Sampdoria, who sit on 20 points. So that would be huge for them, but it depends how both teams play. So anyways, guys, let me know which game you guys are looking forward to this weekend. Be sure to comment below. Let me know. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to subscribe for our channel for more Calcio content. Click the bell to receive notifications on all our latest videos. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Calcio_bros, for all news and updates regarding Serie A and other transfers about players and just personal opinions as well. We hope to hear from you guys soon. Ciao.